He thought he was untouchable. For years, Doug Christie played the role of the perfect husband, doting father and loyal partner, all while running a double life so dark even his wife Jackie never saw it coming. But Malaysia Pargo, oh, she saw it all. And in one unforgettable courtroom moment, she laid it all bare for the world to see. This wasn't just a case of cheating, it was financial manipulation, control, and a web of lies that spanned years. When Malaysia whipped out her phone and hit play, the entire courtroom went silent. Then came Doug's voice proudly boasting about how he owned the game with Jackie's name. The silence was deafening. Jackie stood, trembling, not with tears of sadness but pure fury. You used me. You used my name. You used my love. But Malaysia wasn't done yet. She unleashed receipts, bank statements, wire transfers, secret accounts, and the final nail in the coffin. Names of the women Doug had been funding behind Jackie's back. And just as the shockwaves hit the room, the doors flew open. The police walked in. The jig was up. Doug Christie's empire, about to collapse. I, the investigator, locked eyes with Doug Christie and said, "We've got some questions. And this time, you don't get to run." Oh, and this isn't just another tabloid scandal, any Maritz criminal. Federal. Very real. Doug Christie's empire. It's crumbling. His lies are out in the open and his freedom. Well, that might be the next thing to fall, because when Malaysia Pargo speaks, the system listens. And now, it's full-on war. The courtroom? Silent. You could hear the ticking clock, the rustle of papers, and even the anxious breaths of reporters packed shoulder-to-shoulder in the gallery. Doug Christie sat there, stiff as a board, chin held high, trying to convince the world he had nothing to hide. But Malaysia Pargo? She wasn't even close to finished. She didn't storm in with rage. She didn't scream. She didn't need to. She came in like a storm, hiding behind calm skies, poised on the outside, but ready to tear everything Doug had built apart. This wasn't just about loyalty. It was a betrayal steeped in arrogance, greed, and the silent execution of deceit. Doug Christie thought he was untouchable, a former NBA star, the poster child for devotion, the man who strutted down red carpets hand in hand with Jackie, acting like he was the author of the perfect marriage. Behind the flawless power couple image, there was darkness, and Malaysia Pargo. She had the evidence. As she took the witness stand, Doug Christie refused to even look at her. Jackie Christie sat there, motionless, her hands shaking, lips pressed so tightly together it looked like she was trying to hold back a lifetime of pent-up screams. The judge gave Malaysia a subtle nod, signaling it was her turn. What happened next? No one saw it coming. Malaysia calmly pulled out her phone and said, "Your Honor, with full legal consent, I'd like to play something for the court." The judge hesitated. Doug's lawyer jumped up. "Objection, Your Honor. This is irregular," but the judge shut him down cold. "If it's relevant and admissible, the court will hear it." And with that, the speaker crackled to life. At first, there was nothing but static. Then came Doug Christie's unmistakable voice. But this wasn't the polished, charming voice we've all heard in TV interviews. Oh no, this was raw, arrogant, and vile. "Jackie can know whatever she wants. I own her name. That's all that matters. I run the game." Gasps echoed through the courtroom. The stenographer's hands froze. Jackie's eyes went wide, her face drained of color. She turned slowly towards Doug, her husband of 27 years, with a look that could kill. It was the look of a woman who realized her entire life had just been obliterated. Doug Christie shifted uncomfortably in his seat, rattled for the first time. But Malaysia wasn't done. "That was 2 months ago," she said. "But this ... She held up a printed statement. A bank transfer. Doug had moved $75,000 into a secret account under the name of a woman who was not his wife. Whispers broke out. Like wildfire? Court officers shouted for silence, but the media had already caught fire. Phones buzzed. Headlines were drafted in real time, and live streams exploded with breaking news. Malaysia Pargo just dropped a bombshell. Doug Christie caught cheating and stealing. The judge leaned forward, a mix of disbelief and intrigue in his eyes. "Miss Pargo, are you saying Mr. Christie has been funneling money without his wife's knowledge?" "Yes, Your Honor," she replied, her voice steady. "And I've got 7 more statements just like this. All of them going to women promised Jackie's lifestyle behind her back." Jackie Christie finally stood up. She wasn't crying anymore. Oh no, she was burning. "Everything we built," she hissed. "You used it to impress women who didn't even know your soul. You used my name to finance your fantasies." Doug Christie tried to talk, but his voice faltered. "Jackie, listen, you don't understand. I did it for us. I was just protecting." "Protecting what?" she shouted. "The only thing you protected was your ego." But what the twist was coming. This wasn't just about infidelity. Malaysia Pargo stepped down from the witness stand, handed over a flash drive and said, "Now I'm handing this to the police." The courtroom doors swung open again this time. It wasn't just lawyers. Uniformed officers marched in, not discreetly, not quietly. The lead officer stepped forward and said, "We need to speak with Mr. Doug Christie regarding financial misconduct and potential fraud. He is not under arrest yet, but we request his full cooperation." Doug Christie's eyes darted, like a trapped animal. He looked at Jackie, but she didn't flinch. He turned to Malaysia, but she stared back cold as stone. Here's the truth. Doug never saw coming. Malaysia warned him. She gave him months to clean up his mess. Woman to man, she had told him, "Don't use her. Don't cross me, because I'll burn this empire down, brick by brick." And that's exactly what she did. This wasn't just petty drama. It was a calculated takedown. Doug Christie played the game for too long, getting too comfortable thinking no one would dare challenge him. But Malaysia Pargo, she wasn't afraid of his name, his past, or his reputation. She exposed the tapes. She exposed the money. Malaysia Pargo exposed Doug Christie, and now the police were circling like sharks. Jackie Christie was done, and the world was devouring the story like fire on gasoline. Gossip, blogs, sports channels, everyone had the same burning questions. How long had this been going on? How many women were involved? Did Jackie know? Was Doug really stealing, lying, and manipulating his way through a double life? As the court adjourned for recess, Doug Christie stood there, surrounded by lawyers, reporters, and police, sweating, stuttering, and completely exposed. But Malaysia Pargo, she walked out of that courtroom like a queen who had just dethroned a king. She wasn't there to play fair. She was there to end him. Doug Christie was no longer the man the world admired. He wasn't the doting husband. He wasn't the respected former NBA player, and he certainly wasn't the smooth-talking reality TV alpha anymore. Now, he was just a man cornered. The court may have adjourned, but the drama was far from over. Outside the courthouse, chaos erupted. Cameras, fans, reporters, and Jackie Christie, once the queen of loyalty and control, was teetering on the edge of collapse. She didn't wait for Doug. She didn't speak to anyone. She walked straight to her SUV, slammed the door, and let the engine roar as she vanished into the night. But not before she turned to the paparazzi and screamed, "Let him explain the lies. I gave him my life. Ask him what he did with it." That one line. It went viral within minutes. Meanwhile, inside the precinct, Doug Christie was being grilled by the police. Not arrested yet, but no longer in control. The same man who once lectured others about discipline and honor was now dripping sweat, blinking too fast and struggling to explain why. $400,000 had been moved over 18 months into unregistered private accounts. Detective Monroe leaned in, his voice cold. "You telling me you moved this money by mistake?" Doug stayed quiet. Or was it all just part of the show? You smile for the cameras, hold your wife's hand, say the right words, but behind the scenes, you were robbing her blind. Doug cleared his throat. "It wasn't like that. I was protecting our assets." The detective just laughed. "Doug, come on. You were paying women off like it was an episode of The Bachelor. We've got transfers, timestamps, emails, burner phone, calls, and now Malaysia's evidence." "You're cooked, man," the detective said. Doug Christie snapped back. "They don't know what they're talking about. Malaysia has always had it out for me." But Detective Monroe wasn't buying the act. "You think this is about jealousy? You think Malaysia tanked your life for sport? Wake up, man. This isn't love and hip-hop. This is federal finance fraud. If even half of this sticks, you're looking at serious charges." Back at Jackie Christie's house, a storm was brewing. Friends and family were scrambling, trying to get a hold of her. VH1 producers were already circling, desperate to lock her down for an emergency interview. But Jackie wasn't saying a word. She stood in the middle of her living room, staring at old photos, trophies, anniversary cards filled with lies. She picked up one of Doug's handwritten notes from their 10th anniversary renewal and ripped it in half. Then, she went full-on rage mode. Frames, gifts, basketball memorabilia all flying across the room. Why? Because the betrayal wasn't just financial, it was emotional terrorism. She'd fought the world to protect him, confronted women in public, thrown drinks on camera, and turned a blind eye in private tall for his image. And now, he was the snake in her garden, and Malaysia Pargo had ripped off the mask. Meanwhile, social media was going wild. Hashtag Doug Christie scandal. Hashtag justice for Jackie. Hashtag Malaysia did what needed to be done. Memes were flooding the internet. Doug was out here playing the perfect husband on TV while hustling behind the scenes. Malaysia walked into that courtroom with receipts like she was working at Target. Jackie better burn that mansion down and start fresh. But here's the kicker. The public had no idea. Malaysia had only shown half the evidence. The other half? Already in the hands of a legal team, ready to drop the next bombshell. Malaysia Pargo wasn't done yet. She was ready to file a joint civil suit on behalf of Jackie Christie and two unnamed women who were promised investment opportunities, only to be ghosted once Doug Christie got what he wanted. And just when everyone thought it couldn't get any messier, Malaysia went live on Instagram, flawlessmakeup.com demeanor, but a deadly tone. "I didn't want to do this," she said. "But after today, people deserve the truth. Jackie deserves the truth. Doug played too many people for too long." She paused, then added, "I hope the cameras were worth it, Doug, because the only spotlight you're getting now is the one in that interrogation room." Doug Christie, sitting in the police station break room, lost it as he watched that live replay. He screamed at the officer, "She's lying. She's lying on my name for clout." But the officer just stared back at him and said, "Maybe you should have thought about your name before you betrayed the one person who protected it." Back in court, Jackie Christie's team was preparing something even bigger: divorce papers. Not just personal separation, but a full-on, public, televised, scorched earth declaration. She wasn't going quietly. She wasn't settling behind closed doors. Jackie wanted everyone to know, this is what happens when you bet against the woman who built your legacy. Jackie's publicist confirmed a statement would drop by morning, but VH1 insiders leaked it early. Jackie Christie has initiated legal separation from Doug Christie. A full press conference is expected within 48 hours. All contracts, assets, and production deals will be reviewed. Translation: Doug was about to lose everything. His house, his brands, his franchise, and the fans who had stuck around. All of them were turning on him. Even his own friends were backing away. Chris Webber stayed silent. Old teammates, Mia. Nobody wanted to get caught in the crossfire, because when Malaysia Pargo starts the fire and Jackie Christie fans the flames, there's nowhere left to hide. Malaysia Pargo started the fire, and Jackie Christie fanned the flames. Nowhere was safe for Doug Christie. He tried one final Hail Mary. He called Jackie blocked. He called Malaysia blocked. He sent a public apology post to his PR team, but they didn't post it. Why? Because no one was buying the act anymore. Doug Christie was officially in freefall. As Jackie stood on her balcony that night, staring into the LA skyline, she didn't cry. She didn't yell. She simply said, "He thought I wouldn't find out. He thought Malaysia wouldn't go there. But now the world knows he never deserved me." Inside the courtroom, the tension didn't die down when Doug Christie was escorted out by police. Outside, it exploded. News vans swarmed the courthouse. With every outlet from TMZ to court drama, YouTubers pointing their cameras at the glass doors. Inside, Malaysia Pargo stood calm, collected, but her eyes were filled with fire. Jackie Christie stood in the hallway, her back against the wall, breathing heavily like she'd just escaped a war zone. In some ways, she had Doug Christie, the once celebrated NBA icon, the man who preached loyalty, integrity, and black love, was now trending worldwide for all the wrong reasons. Hashtags like hashtag Doug Double Life and hashtag Malaysia exposed everything were flooding social media. But just when you thought it couldn't get worse, the second wave of exposure hit. While Doug Christie was being questioned at the police station, Malaysia's legal team dropped another bombshell to the district attorney's office. Not only had Doug been siphoning money into secret accounts, but some of those accounts were tied to shell companies, and one of those companies was linked to illegal offshore transfers. Let that sink in. It wasn't just cheating. It wasn't just betrayal. Doug Christie had played a much darker game. It was shaping up to be a full-blown criminal conspiracy. And guess who else wanted a word? The IRS. Within 24 hours, a financial task force confirmed at least 3 suspicious wire transfers from Doug Christie's Basketball Alumni Foundation into private accounts overseas. But hold on, here's the kicker. 2 of the women named in those transfers, they had vanished from LA just days before Malaysia Pargo stepped forward in court. Coincidence? Jackie Christie didn't think so. They knew the storm was coming, she said in an exclusive interview with Shade Room. "I just didn't know I'd be standing in it too." This time, Jackie wasn't defending Doug. She wasn't shielding him from the scandal or protecting his image. No, she was sitting side by side with Malaysia, going through documents, timelines, call logs, and receipts. It was like Malaysia handed her the final missing piece to the puzzle, and Jackie put it all together herself. But here's the twist: Malaysia had been gathering evidence for months. This wasn't some random moment of courage. It was a carefully calculated take. She'd hired her own private investigator, cross-checked bank statements, recorded late-night calls, and even bugged her own apartment where Doug had stayed after a fight with Jackie. One of the most shocking revelations came from a voicemail, where Doug, clearly drunk, said, "If Jackie ever finds out about Kenya, tell her it was just for clout. "She's too old to leave me anyway. I own her loyalty." That line, it sent Twitter into a frenzy. Feminist circles, celebrity watchdog accounts, and even former VH1 producers were reposting that quote with captions like, "This is the real Doug. Christie and Jackie girl, we got you." Meanwhile, Doug's camp was falling apart. His longtime agent quit, his publicist deleted her account, and the charity board for his youth foundation. They released a formal statement distancing themselves from him. The allegations surrounding Doug Christie were too disturbing to ignore. The statement from his charities board said, "We have frozen all accounts pending investigation and are fully cooperating with authorities." This move, just 48 hours after the court hearing, marked the beginning of the end. But it wasn't over. Jackie Christie, finally done protecting Doug, took the podium during a press conference arranged by her attorney. She stood in front of the cameras, lips tight, eyes glistening, and then she spoke. "For years, I was the shield. I stood in front of the bullets meant for him. I made excuses. I took the blame, but not anymore. Doug Christie lied to me. He manipulated me. He made me doubt my own worth as a woman, a wife, and a mother. And when I stayed silent, he got bolder. So, let this be my statement. I believe Malaysia. I believe the women he used, and I believe justice is coming." The crowd erupted. Blogs, fan pages, and media personalities couldn't believe the shift. Jackie Christie, the woman who once followed her husband to every game, wore matching outfits, and preached ride or die, was finally done with a man who never deserved her in the first place. Then boom, a new recording was leaked, an off-camera confession Doug made to an old teammate. "Man, Malaysia's gonna regret this. I ain't even started yet. I got stuff on her too. Let her keep playing brave. This ain't over." The clip spread like wildfire, but instead of helping Doug, it only made him look worse. Now he was caught threatening retaliation, witness tampering, and potential obstruction of justice. The police confirmed they were opening a separate line of questioning. Related to those threats, Jackie's response was simple. She posted a single quote on Instagram. "The lion doesn't lose sleep over the opinion of sheep, but if the sheep tries to bite, the lion roars." That post, it hit 1.3 million likes in just 6 hours. Meanwhile, Malaysia stayed calm, composed. She wasn't playing for fame, she was playing for justice. Every move she made was deliberate. The final nail in the coffin came 3 days later when Doug Christie's own assistant, who had worked for the Christies for over 7 years, came forward anonymously with emails and screenshots from Doug's private accounts. One email subject line read, "Payment plan for loyalty. Do not forward." Attached to it, invoices for women labeled support services and confidential arrangements. This wasn't just cheating, it was cold, premeditated manipulation. Back in court, the judge reviewed the new evidence and declared the court finds sufficient reason to escalate this to federal inquiry. This is no longer a civil issue. And just like that, Doug Christie's trial crossed the final line from family court to criminal court. At the center of it all stood Malaysia Pargo, the woman who struck the match and watched Doug's lies burn to the ground. This wasn't a bitter ex telling a sad story. This wasn't some petty reality TV fallout. No, this was war, and Malaysia Pargo just fired the final shot. Doug Christie thought he was untouchable. He thought his fame, smooth talk, and Bible-quoting charm could protect him from accountability. But what he didn't count on was a woman who had the receipts. A woman who wasn't afraid to burn every bridge necessary to expose the monster hiding behind the husband mask. Malaysia didn't just spill the tea, she spilled a whole damn ocean. And now, the sharks were circling Doug. Don't get it twisted, this isn't about revenge, it's about truth. It's about every woman who's ever been gaslit, lied to, broken down, and told to smile for the cameras. It's about standing up even when your knees are shaking. And it's about letting the world know we're not scared anymore. Jackie Christie finally woke up, and when she did, she came out swinging. Side by side with Malaysia, sisters in survival, warriors in heels. Doug, he's not just in legal trouble, he's in real danger. Because when truth comes, armed with evidence, allies, and the public eye, no lawyer in the world is saving you now. It's your turn. Share this video. Comment your thoughts. Sound off below. Silence protects predators, but exposure, that's how we end them. If you believe women deserve the truth, if you're done watching powerful men destroy lives behind closed doors, then don't scroll past this. Stand with Malaysia. Stand with Jackie. Stand for truth. The story isn't over yet, and the next chapter, it might just be a prison sentence.